All right. Here we are again together. Now, don't freak out on me, please. That's not what I'm trying to do with these shows. You know, if you've been following me at all, I've been trying to do these shows every single day just to be helpful, okay? So today, we're going to look at 3 big food mistakes to avoid. Now, you know how I'm saying this, right? We can't get too uptight about any of these things, but on a serious side, this may be a very big deal for a lot of people out there if you're listening to this information correctly, right? But don't freak out. That's the bottom line. Let's talk about it today, all right? We're going to get into these 3 big food mistakes, all right? You ready? Hi, I'm Jonathan Landsman, your host for Natural Health 365 Live. We do these broadcasts every single day, Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. And the whole focus is to help you improve your immune system function. That's what it's all about, to protect your health. And hey, if you're new to this broadcast, do me a big favor right now. Type new, N-E-W, type new in the comment section below so I can give you a big warm welcome as you join us on this journey. And it is a journey. Every day we're learning something new. I know I am, that's for sure. Okay, so number 1, big food mistake. And of course, most of this when I design these shows is really speaking to people. Sure, we want to avoid any kind of health issues, but I'm really thinking a lot about those people out there who don't feel well. They're sick and tired of that, and they are looking for some answers. So that's why I'm constantly talking to you as well. You know what I'm about to say. Please share, share, share. Don't try to convince anybody of anything. I think it's a matter of all of us making up our own decision as to what we should do, what we feel is best. So if you could just pass this show on to somebody else, just tag somebody in the comment area and get this show to somebody else, I would really appreciate it. And I know that someone out there who gets this for the first time, they're probably going to appreciate this as well. Okay, so let's get to it. Number 1, pro-inflammatory health foods, right? I say it that way because this is the kind of thing I decided to highlight today that it seems obvious, but a lot of people are not talking about this too much. It sure as heck isn't popular. And that is avoiding nightshade foods. And I would imagine if you've been tuning into a lot of my shows and checking out a lot of the articles on Natural Health 365, you already know what that is. But these nightshade foods, right? These kind of foods like tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, and potatoes. I'm going to bring up some other foods that you might be surprised about that are nightshade foods that in many people who had food sensitivities, this would definitely be encouraging more cellular inflammation. And if you don't feel well, the bottom line is, no matter what, you want to cut away from your life the things that might be pro-inflammatory. How about some of these other foods that are considered nightshades? Goji berries, cayenne pepper and paprika, okra, which is an unusual vegetable, and of course, don't forget, if we said tomatoes, the other thing that a lot of people love, don't hate me for it, tomato sauce. So we have to be very careful of these foods. If you're suffering from things that I've written down here like chronic inflammation, we've mentioned already, leaky gut, inflammatory bowel disease, and autoimmune disorders, which I just got off recording a podcast that we're going to put out very soon with a doctor in Canada who is actually saying now, because he's really deep into helping people with autoimmune disorders. I've often said on air, you're looking at over 100 different disorders out there, lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, the list goes on and on. He says it's actually closer to 200 different disorders that are actually linked to autoimmune issues. So, bottom line is, you got to watch out. If you're dealing with these kinds of health issues, you really feel like something's going on in your gut that's not feeling right, even just to be quite frank with you, a lot of gas, a lot of bloating, feeling like the belly is sticking out there and it's like a balloon. Not a good situation. You want to be careful because chronic inflammation like this, and this is the tricky part, that may not even necessarily be something you think is hurting you so much. You're not in excruciating pain. It's just kind of something that comes and goes on a regular basis throughout the week. This kind of chronic inflammation plays a big role the longer it goes on in serious health issues that we're familiar with, like causing memory loss. These issues, these concerns we have of millions of people who are suffering with dementia. Could you imagine, just this alone, if we could pause for a moment, every person that's diagnosed with dementia is told, you know what? Looks like you've got this going on, but maybe we've got to calm down your gut. We've got to clean it up. We've got to calm down the inflammation, and your brain function will actually get better. Imagine if more people were told that and would make every effort to get away from things like nightshade foods that I listed that would calm down the inflammation. Cardiovascular disease. That's a really big issue as well. If you're dealing with chronic inflammation from foods like nightshade foods that are constantly pinging at your cells and triggering them to be inflamed and to get that sort of body response back over and over and over again, week after week, month after month, year after year, this causes cardiovascular damage. So if you're dealing with these kind of things, it's time to get serious. Excess weight. Obviously right there. Excess weight might be, at this point, hormones that are all thrown off. Your chemistry is thrown off. You're not even eating a ton of food, but you're just having a lot of problems losing the weight. These issues can be really coming from chronic inflammation. Yes, it could be heavy metal toxicity. There could be other issues as well. But pro-inflammatory foods like nightshades really need to be looked at. Accelerated aging. The bottom line is if you live with chronic inflammation for many, many years, it's going to make you look older. And I'm not trying to sound vain here, but who wants to look really all old and wrinkly and really in poor health? Not even that wrinkles is such a bad thing, but you know what I mean, that really run down old look. And that can come at a very accelerated rate. I mean, with all due respect, a lot of people in their 40s and 50s like me look like they're in their 60s and 70s. I mean, really run down. Their skin color, their texture, the way their whole appearance is, that is definitely the underpinning is chronic inflammation. And it most definitely is coming a lot from the foods that they're eating. Nightshades, the nightshade foods can be part of the mix here. And if we can try to get away from those and calm down the inflammation, things can really change. As I said in the description for the show, it's about increasing your cellular energy, reducing your inflammation, and absolutely will lower your risk for dis-ease and obviously all the other expenses that come along with it. So joint pain, that is huge. This is a biggie that we're going to stay on for a minute or so because the lectins, Lectins, the lectins found in nightshade foods, that's what can absolutely create this bodily reaction of aches and pains in the shoulders, in the knees, in the back, in the neck area. All these aches and pains could be simply a food reaction you're having by foods that you're eating that are too high in lectins. Imagine that. Instead of being diagnosed with arthritis, take your arthritis medications and blah, blah, blah. It could be just simply your body reacting poorly to foods that have too many lectins in it, causing that inflammation and that pain in your body. So what else does food sensitivity look like? Let's get real for a second. You have a meal, you have some ingredients in there, you're not sure if it's good or bad for you, but, no, I'm not a monkey. I'm starting to scratch, a little itchy, kind of weird spots. All of a sudden, your skin gets itchy. What's going on with me? Or maybe the nose starts to run, a little runny nose. And of course, the more obvious thing that you can't deny if you just take a look at it, you get some abdominal pain after you've eaten. Hello? That's telling you something that should not be ignored. I think the problem inherently is these things kind of come and then they go. It's not like wham, kills you, right? God forbid, or really ends your day and it stays with you for hours and hours. It's just kind of a transient thing, up and down in pain and discomfort. These are signs your body is talking to you and telling you this thing you just did doesn't agree with you. So it's important to pay attention to these things. That's why I'm always saying it's not like you have to have a medical degree or some sort of high-level education with a PhD degree. Go by your gut, no pun intended. Go by your intuition. You listen to that inner voice telling you, this is really not a good idea for me to eat anymore. Let me try it out. Hey, just have fun with it. Do it as an experiment. See what it would be like to not eat some of these foods and see if your energy level is up, if your mental clarity is up. You know how you get that foggy brain after eating? That's a huge sign that what you just ate, if you're feeling very spacey, it's hard to keep your eyes open, you're nodding off, falling asleep, that's an indication that whatever you were eating or drinking just before, not a good idea for you. You should have a sharpness of your mind and an alertness and an energy of your body all through the day until you're just like, I've had it, I'm done. Time for me to go to sleep. And you should sleep soundly. This is what we have to get a lot of people back onto, right? Okay, so good replacements, right? Let's keep it real. Sweet potatoes. No, it's not the same as white potatoes, okay, which are nightshades. Sweet potatoes, the jewel yams, that kind of stuff. Really good. Some squash, butternut, acorn squash. Steam it up. Absolutely delicious. Great little replacements to some of these foods that you might be taking out. But why don't you add these in? Zucchini, make sure, of course, all of this is organic. If you've been following me for some time, you know the main point of organic is to drastically minimize the amount of chemicals you're swallowing. Obviously, the more chemicals you swallow, whether it's medications that you feel like you're compelled that you have to take, or chemicals in your food, the pesticides, the synthetic hormones, all of this stuff, obviously, the more of that you consume, the more you are living a pro-inflammatory lifestyle. The more sugars you're eating, it goes without saying. So organic is very important to cut down on those chemicals that you're going to swallow every day. Mushrooms, Blueberries. These are good choices, organic. Citrus fruits, really nice. Cantaloupe, black pepper, cilantro, and turmeric. These are all some really good things you can throw into your diet that are much safer, very healthy, and it makes it fun to eat. But you're trying to stay away from the nightshades, right? In addition, I want to just throw out some other things that are clearly pro-inflammatory. They're obvious, as I said in the description here, but they're not talked about enough. That's the bottom line. In mainstream media, if you know a friend or a family member that's plugged into the television set and waiting for this information, they're going to be waiting a really long time. And to be quite honest with you, they're probably never going to hear this information at all, ever. So let's talk about some other pro-inflammatory things. Flour-based products. I know you're going to throw the kitchen sink at me now. Please don't get upset, especially if you love some of these foods, but it has to be said because they are massively pro-inflammatory foods. Bagels, cake, cookies, all kinds of breads, even if it's certified organic. Understand, I'm still telling you these pro-inflammatory foods. Boxed cereals, all those cereals that say, yes, they will lower your cholesterol. It's amazing. Imagine if a natural remedy said, hey, have this natural remedy. It's going to lower your cholesterol. Psst, forget about it. You'd have government health agencies coming down on that company and saying, you're out. Get this product off the market. You're not allowed to say that. But you walk down the aisles of these garbage, total garbage box cereals in plastic bags, wrapped with paper boxes, with beautiful marketing on the front, with funny little cartoon characters. And if you flip to the label and you read all the sugars that are added, somehow magically these box cereals are heart healthy and will lower your cholesterol. Total garbage. They are all pro-inflammatory and destructive to the human body. And that's just a fact. Ask any top, well-qualified, experienced, intelligent, caring, integrative healthcare provider, and they will break down the same thing I'm telling you right now. The danger with all this, of course, we don't want to forget chips and pretzels. All of this stuff is not different food. The bottom line is all these things from bagels to pretzels, all flour-based products. The more flour you eat, the more pro-inflammatory is your system, and that's not good in the long term. So the bottom line is you got blood sugar spikes, your sugar will shoot up, and then it'll drop, and that's fine if you're young. The insulin comes in, settles things down. Over time, you get something that's really bad news, though, insulin resistance. You get this weakening of your body. The response, the natural response of your body to handle a blood sugar rush intake from these foods that are too much sugar-based, spiking your sugar, now your body can't adapt to that, and that's when the real destruction starts to happen. So you get insulin resistance. Of course, the bottom line is eating these foods are not exactly high fiber, even though another very delusional thing about these breads and everything, oh, they're very rich in fiber. That's a bunch of malarkey, okay? Highly processed floury foods are not a good source of fiber. When you want to think fibrous food, fruits and vegetables, think about those real foods out there that are truly healthy, high-fiber, nutrient-rich foods. Your broccolis, your cauliflower, your carrots, all of these apples, real pears, right? Blueberries that I mentioned before. These are high in fiber, but they also are very nutritious, and none of those have flour listed as one of their ingredients. So the big one is in eating these foods that are so pro-inflammatory is the bottom line is there's an overexposure of genetically modified organisms that are involved in a lot of these products that are floury. And of course, the wheat in a lot of these flour products, especially if they are non-organic, right, is sprayed with glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, the active ingredient in an herbicide that is absolutely toxic to every cell in your body, very destructive to your gut. So the more your diet is based on that, over time, you're creating this constant, low-level, chronic inflammation in your body, which sets you up for problems later on in life. So some of the top GMO foods, let's stay focused: non-organic soy, corn, canola oil, milk, and sugar. If you see it, any derivative of all of these products I just listed, you can be almost certain, for sure, you're eating a lot of garbage GMO food in those non-organic foods that you're buying out there. And remember, the wheat itself, the wheat crop, the grain in the farmlands all across the U.S., they are taking the glyphosate and heavily spraying the crops right before harvest to help dry them up more so that they get more of a yield when they come through with the machines and harvest the wheat. The problem is you've got this chemical sprayed on it right when they're pulling it and putting it right onto the food. And that's the stuff that people are swallowing every day. Of course, the chemical company will tell you, relax, go back to sleep. It's such a small amount, nothing to worry about. You and I is the answer they always give. But all these little bits bioaccumulate in our tissues, especially our fat tissue, and they're storing up and they're wreaking havoc on our system over time. This is what we're seeing today with the tens and tens and tens of millions of people suffering with all these health issues, whether it's cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, the list goes on and on. All of them are suffering with these pro-inflammatory state that they're in. So keep these things in mind. Even organic sweet things. What am I talking about? Organic soda. Jonathan, lay off. It's, come on, it's certified organic. It's got the USDA label. Come on, the soda. What's so bad about that? Carbonated beverages. Definitely more pro-inflammatory. Organic fruit juices, they're pasteurized. These are dead juices. Unless you're making a fresh vegetable type fruit, / fruit juice at home in your own juicer from organic fruits and vegetables, come on. If you're buying fruit juice in a store off a shelf, think about it, folks. It's not even in a refrigerator. They're on the shelves. They're there for months in these plastic bottles. Pasteurized, dead fruit juice with sugar added a lot of times. You got to be careful of these. These all tend to, in those people who are dealing with inflammatory health issues, they tend to just encourage more and more inflammation. You've got to cut down these sweet drinks. And even, I know I'm going to probably upset a few people, and I've certainly been a victim of this myself. I've kind of cut it out. Organic raw honey. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm on record years ago. It was an amazing experience. I had a tremendous allergy during springtime years ago to like flowers and stuff. I couldn't go to the park with my wife, right? All these things like, no, I don't want, I'm going to get aggravated. My eyes, my nose, everything's going to just flare up. I started having raw honey and it was like, wow. It was like a homeopathic remedy. When I started having local raw honey, when I would go to the local parks, it was like amazing. After months of eating raw honey, the springtime came around, and I was like, what's going on here? There's no reaction. That's a positive thing. But keep in mind, when you're dealing with inflammatory health issues, bowel, gut problems, you're overweight, you've got the allergies already from other things perhaps most likely, you want to be very careful, especially with the gut issues, that you're not overloading yourself with the sweets, sweet processed fruit juices, the honeys, and maple syrup, even if it's organic. Again, it's just these much more refined, simple sugars that are going to tend to spike your sugar, and this is going to encourage inflammation. So number 2 thing, we'll plow through these others really quick, the wrong type of eggs. Yes, the wrong type. When you get conventional eggs, you're buying into, synthetic hormones, the GMOs, the antibiotics. Where's that from in an egg? What the chicken's having, right? What the animal is eating is crap. It's a sick animal laying eggs, and then those eggs are what you're buying? Don't do it. Look for certified organic eggs, but don't be fooled. Pasture raised. Look for it. I'll repeat it. Pasture raised, not free range. And here's your biggest joke. Please don't be played. Now that you've watched this, you won't be played out there as a clueless consumer. Cage free. Don't you love that? Sounds so natural. Jonathan, what's wrong with cage free? The animals are running around and they're not in a cage. Yeah, baloney. Cage free. Animals are in a pen. They got a little door. They call it cage free. Oh, yeah, they let the animals out a little bit. They play around. Boom, right back into the pen. So cage free is a marketing joke. They're not out there raised on pasture, eating all the bugs and stuff outside and living outside with the sunshine during the day and going in to stay away from predators at night. That's fine. But they're not living their whole life outside. Pasture raised, organic. You want to really get to know your local farmers like I do. I definitely pick up the best eggs. You can see them a bright golden yellow color. If it's a pale yellow, you know it's coming from a much sicker animal. It should be a golden orange color, the egg yolk. Get to know your local farmer. Check them out, even if it's not technically certified organic, but they know, they're telling you, hey, I am not for all these chemicals. Here's where our chickens are. Look at how they're living. Look at what we're feeding them. It's only the best of the best, all organic, not GMO crap we're giving them. Then you know the eggs are great quality. And that's why I always say, get to know your local farmer. And number 3, the last thing I want to bring up is beware of the olive oil scam. Years ago, we put out an article. It was really well received. But again, you know, every day you can't write about olive oil. Every day you sure as heck aren't hearing about this in the mainstream media. But it's a truth. It is such a scam. Most of the olive oil that's being sold, even in the health food stores. Our article was called Fraud Exposed, Hazardous Chemicals and Mislabeling Rampant in Olive Oil Industry. So you can check out the article if you like, which really breaks things down in detail. But the simple truth is you got to watch out for labeling fraud, which is crazy in the olive oil industry. False documentation for sure. There's a lot of mischievous things going on, improper storage. You can actually find motor oil in some of these olive oils, believe it or not. Toxic pesticides as well are present. A better pick for olive oil is look for the California Olive Oil Council. It's COOC. It's kind of like a badge, if you will, that you'll see on the olive oil. My personal pick, I have no stake in this company. I don't own shares. They don't give me money to say this, so I don't want to hear the comments down below. Oh, this is why you say it. It's just what we buy, my wife and I, is Apollo olive oil. And I kid you not, when you taste the Apollo olive oil, it's going to be hard to have any other olive oil, and it's going to blow your mind because they really are processing the best quality olives down to different kinds of oils, like in the old school, old-fashioned way. Look up their company and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Call them up. Read their articles, the way they talk about olive oil. It's like no other company you'll ever see. If you do see another one, please do me a favor and post it in the comment section. I'd love to hear. Apollo, Apollo olive oil. Apollo Olive Oil Company. Check them out. Anyway, obviously there's a lot more that I didn't cover today. I just wanted to cover a bunch of them. Pro-inflammatory foods that are definitely hurting your health. Please be careful. Clean them up. Try to replace them with better quality foods. And my question of the day. Are you ready? Well, you probably see it in the comment section already, but which is your biggest food mistake? Don't worry, people. I said at the beginning, no judgment here. Relax. We're having a little fun here. But let's hear it from you. What's your biggest food mistake? Eating fast food? Drinking tap water? Not chewing your food properly or enough? Or, number 4, other. Please share. Let us know. Just as a reminder, the Natural Health 365 live broadcast is every single day at 12 noon Eastern Time. Please join us. And more importantly, do me a huge favor. Share this show with someone you feel needs to hear this information. I am sure you have at least 6 to 9 people quickly that will come to mind, friends and family, that absolutely need to hear this kind of information that, let's face it, if they take some of this into their life, they're definitely going to feel a lot better, and they're going to thank you for it. So share it, and that's pretty much it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care, everybody. All right, Instagram.